What's going on, Giants fans? Welcome back to the GMen Command Post. This is where Giants fans come for real conversation. Today, we're talking about coaching changes, the same losing results, discipline issues, and whether this season is already over. I'm joined by Charlie, who is a Ravens fan and will be giving
Yo,
us some outsider's perspective on the state of the Giants. Let's keep it honest. All right, so Charlie, you've been a Ravens fan going all around um, from how long?
listen. I'm from New York, so I'm originally a Giants fan.
Hmm.
I've been a Giants fan for a minute, and as an adult, I always liked the Ravens. I like Ray Lewis. I like Ed Reed. Going back in the days, and it was an easy shift for me when Lamar came on the scene, and like, listen, it's somebody that was doubted from the minute that the draft started. I remember somebody said this guy should just switch to receiver, and he was one of the highest rated passers in college football at the time. So there's a lot of things that socially and culturally that drove me to be a Ravens fan, and a lot of it is the idea that everybody should get a fair shot in a sense.
Hmm.
Why was he treated this way? And kind of similar to what's going on with in Cleveland with Shador, and it just doesn't make sense. And I played football growing up, and football is always the ultimate democracy where your efforts is what on the field is what where you get the value. But sometimes in life, you have outside stuff that seems to have more weight. So that's why long story short, but that's pretty much why I became a Ravens fan. Because they at the time where somebody like we see 2 times MVP, somebody this special. Before he came to the league, everybody was saying, "Hey, this guy is." So I like to live in a world where everything is in front of you. It's like 1 plus 1 is 2 in a sense.
During the time when like you were choosing to be a Raiders fan and betraying all New Yorkers, and like I understand it from like from your perspective, seeing young Lamar coming into like the league and whatnot, just like you said. But you live in New York, like you for the longest time. I remember you repped New York, and all of a sudden. Like
Listen,
you just turn your back on everybody.
I have my kid in Jersey, and listen. I go on Sundays. I'm in Miami right now. See, you gotta live that kind of life. So on Sunday, one of my favorite things to do in New York in the tri-state area is to go to Hoboken on Sunday. If
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. Wicked Wolf, Texas, Arizona, Green Rock. I don't forget about you, but I love football. I love sports in general, and like I don't consider myself a classic fan in the sense where I root for a team and they suck. Like what do people in Cleveland do their whole life?
Hmm.
just Miami. Like what do you do? You just suck your whole life. If you're a Jets fan, what do you do? Right? You saw you saw the video of that kid is like, yo man, you know what? I was born a Jets fan. I'm gonna die a Jets fan. This team sucks.
I
I
saw
hate
that
it.
video.
You know what I'm saying? It's like so. For me, I think different. You can call it trade or whatever. I really like creative talent. I really like to see beautiful things in a sense. Like I'm not loyal to something that's a cancer.
Mhm.
Like it's killing me, but I'm loyal. You know what I'm saying? Chemotherapy for life. So that's my perspective. I appreciate. Like I know a lot of people that live in New York, but they're usually Bron fan. Wherever he goes, they go. Like I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Like there's a reasons why some teams are most watched, right? There's
Mhm.
something about them. There's something that attracts you, and it's usually the individual. So I really follow individual talent as an NFL analyst. I follow all the teams. I try to understand and see the beauty in that sense. So I'm not a hardened Giants fan. I'm sorry. I have a Mike Zimmer jersey. It's retired. You feel me? I love. I was a Giants fan during the 2 Super Bowls. I love Eli. You know what I'm saying? But there's
Mhm.
issues. I didn't jump bandwagon because of that. It was more because I like the Ravens culture. I like the fact that they're gritty, they're tough, they just do what it has to do. All the reasons, you know what I'm saying. But that's football. Things comes in waves. But
No, I got you. So let's jump into our very first question that I have for you today. What was your first reaction when Brian Daboll got fired?
to be honest, I was in shock. I was in shock because I thought Brian Daboll. I thought he was pretty good coach. I think I don't know. I forgot what coach that says this. You have to you if I'm gonna cook the food, I have to go to the shop and I have to get the groceries. You know what I'm saying? I have to be the one, and it's conventional thinking to give a coach the chance to pick their own guy, and that doesn't mean you pick everybody. You pick the kicker. You pick you pick the most important keys, which is quarterback, right?
And Brian
And
Daboll brought Jackson Dart in, so he finally got his guy after almost like 3 years of kind of struggling, and then trying to look for a quarterback. They had Daniel Jones, but they didn't feel like he was that guy. So they gave him a 2 year contract, and then towards the very end of the 2 year, they had an opt out clause, knowing that yeah, if he doesn't really perform how we were hoping and expecting, we can kind of kick him to the curve, and last year in the NFL draft they drafted Jackson Dart, and that's his guy. But this year, as the season was
I
going
mean, this
on,
is
the
his
guy
first
started off
year.
pretty good, huh?
This is his first year, and I think I can't blame the team for I don't know what's going on internally, and as you say, did give him I think because he was an offensive quote unquote genius, they they thought he was supposed to fix Daniel Jones. Right,
Hmm.
so I don't know what internal contract they had because it's like, hey, listen, if you don't fix Daniel Jones, so he might have been on borrowed time.
And he
But
did. He did. Like the very first season, he Daniel Jones cut back on his interception rate. He was actually able to get a good amount of touchdowns, and that's why he ended up getting a second contract.
sure,
Because they picked up his 5th year option, I believe. No, I'm sorry, they didn't pick up his 5th year option. They purposely let it go because they were not sure whether they wanted to bring him back.
We was not gonna have Daniel Jones another contract. What is this, Al Houston? I, I think Daboll is a good coach, and I think coaching is something that takes a lot of pieces to make right. But this
Mhm.
is the NFL. You have to have result. That's the thing that matters. And a lot of things went wrong that I felt like that was out of his control. This is the and that's part of football. I play football. Like if you play football, you're going to get hurt. There's gonna be injuries, and sometimes it's one guy. But if it's 15 guys and at key pieces, right? You
Mhm.
got neighbors hurt, right? That's your number one receiver. Is your number one offensive threat that needs to help a rookie. You have Dart. He's in the concussion protocol more than he's playing.
That's because of his playing style. And then,
Yeah,
of course, Cam Scatterboo.
Scatterboo is foot is and Scatterboo, all these things that I think the draft was good. I thought he had a good draft. I thought even bringing in the veteran. I don't know why he brought in two quarterbacks. I don't know why he brought
Oh, you're
in
talking
Jameis
Russell
and Russell
Wilson,
Wilson.
and what's his name?
Jameis
James
Winston.
Winston.
Yeah, I don't know why.
A lot of people said that it was, they were trying to foster a good quarterback room. Like they wanted.
Well, you don't need two veterans. It's like you don't if you don't have a car you don't have a car, you walking, right.
Mhm.
you go and buy two hoopties. It's still two pieces of shits, right?
But the
So
contract made sense though. Like, like Jameis Winston wasn't making a lot of money at all. And I think they just had him as insurance in case, like 'cause they were trying to get Russell Wilson, but they were also trying to get Aaron Rodgers. And I think like, when they realized, okay, the Aaron Rodgers train isn't really going, so then they were like, okay, like let's just, give Russ a contract and see if he'll actually like, go. But just in case if we don't get any of these guys, we're gonna have James Winston in the background, just kind of like waiting and there just in case. I think that's the way they played.
I think it's probably what happened, and it's a tough position to be in, and it what's going on? What are we doing? Like,
No,
I think
I
we,
get
because I
you.
still consider myself deep down inside a Giants fan. Like,
Mhm.
why do you have two guys that it's like it's becoming a joke in a sense?
I
Two
remember a
guys
lot of people say
that
like Brian Daboll got fired because they thought that like he got Jackson Dart injured because of Jackson Dart's playing style and like the way that he was coaching him was the exact same way he tried to coach the dude in Buffalo.
oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you have to have, as a quarterback, you have to have the threat of running. As an offense coordinator, you have that in. I don't think he was like, yeah, let me try to kill my guy. Let
Right,
me
but
try to do my.
Josh Allen is a big dude. Like he can take the hit as well as he can like give out punishment. I think he's like what 6'5", 6'6", over like 200 and
Yeah,
like 50, 60 pounds.
Josh Allen's a big dude, but I don't agree with the idea that he was trying to get him hurt or he coached him like. I don't think he coached him like Josh Allen at all. I think if you look at Jackson Dart's history, it screams that he's he was a wildcat, right? And you can be a wildcat, but I think some people are genetically prone to concussions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tua is
Mm-hmm.
prone to concussions, and there's no way Brian Daboll could have predict that, right? And now we have a tough decision. What's going on? What we gonna do? Are we gonna, you know what I'm saying? I think
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to keep Jackson Dart, right? Like I think Giants is in last right now, so number one pick is definitely prospect, and I think they should play. They should play. I don't think they should try to win anymore this season. Like I think if we could sit Jackson
Uh,
Dart,
let me stop you there because
they
this is on our segment and we'll touch up on it.
yeah.
So Brian Daboll got fired and Mike Kafka takes over as the interim head coach. Like what have you heard around the league about like Mike Kafka and like what are your viewpoints on this guy?
Coaching is such a coaching is such a like you can't really determine like until you see somebody gets the opportunity. You could like a good offensive coordinator, but I feel like every team is led by the top down, even from
Mhm.
owners. You know what I'm saying? So like the coach has more to do with it. I think like people are screaming like fire this offensive defensive coordinator. Like if the team is already set for failure, it doesn't matter what I do. The players' emotions are already set from the beginning of the season. This is who we are. You are who you are, and yes, coaching does matter, putting guys in the right positions and to win. But if the vibe, if the energy is soft, okay, I'm not saying Giants are soft. The energy is if people are injured, right? If like all these things take a toll on the outcome of what you get on the field. So to
Mhm.
say Mike Kafka is the future, but he's coached at he's coached a Super Bowl team, right? Right? He's won a Super Bowl. I'm assuming if he was in
Yeah.
Kansas City, they've won
Yep.
Super Bowls. So he's been in big stages, which is a good thing, So he's like I'm not sure if he was in the big if he was in Kansas City early on, because early on you get the development part of it where you're developing young Pat Mahomes, which is a great experience. You get to he could potentially like mold Jackson Dart in the right direction.
Oh, I get what you mean. But speaking of like getting fired, Shane Bowen was like the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants and was definitely like on the hot seat with people that the New York Giants wanted, New York Giants fans wanted to get fired because, seeing the defense consistently give up leads after, like having like 3 quarters of, awesome, offense, like looking like a competent team. And then you get into the fourth quarter and, just like they've done all season in Denver, like against other, competent teams, like they blow the lead. So, Shane Bowen ended up taking the blame after Brian Daboll, was fired. Shane Bowen ended up getting fired after giving the same results. And Charlie Bullen there ended up stepping in. And, like his first game was against the Lions. And just like all season, they lost the exact same way against the Lions again. With Jameis Winston at the helm and Jackson Dart on concussion protocol, they blow another fourth quarter lead, and it just felt like so much more of the same. You seeing that, what did you think is going on with the Giants?
Yeah, so I would say um, the Giants is like a seventh grade classroom, and the teacher is on vacation, or the teacher is still working, right? This is a substitute teacher. We're going to wild out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, there's no directions. There's no authority figure in the locker room, right? Everybody's
Mhm.
like, if I'm gonna do me, and the team was already in that. Like I said, that energy is already set, right? This is who we are. It's tough to be like, oh yeah, this guy came in. He was the offensive. He was part of the team, and they sucked, right? They were doing the
Mhm.
same. No, you expect him to change, and because he's become the guy. No, you gotta understand. Sometimes you gotta just scrap it for next year. You what you're doing right now, it should be talent evaluating who we keeping, who we getting rid of, what coach the front office should be like, who's on the market for coaching, who can we get to change the culture right now, because you could be the greatest coach if you coach unmotivated people, or people that's already seen the writing on the wall. What, you want to expect these guys to walk on water? You expect this
Mhm.
offensive line coach to be like, hey, he was under the guy that got fired, right? To be like, yeah, guys, I'm here now. I was here already, but now I'm here. Now we're gonna be good. No, I think it's a tough thing to do.
So would you say there is a lack of accountability from the players?
No,
Uh,
every NFL player is the best athletes and the most motivated football players that you see. Every guy right now, there's a lot of guys in that locker room, in every NFL locker room, that is trying to stay in the NFL.
mhm.
Right? They're not just playing for the Giants. They're trying to play to stay in the NFL. There's still competition going right now, right? But
Mhm.
football is a 53-man roster, right? There's so many moving parts. If it's a car, if you get one piece wrong, it could mess up the whole thing. That's what's happening right now. The main pieces are not firing, right? So we can't say these guys are not motivated. They're not. No, these guys could not never. Some guys will never play again. Right?
Mhm.
There's a few guys on John's roster that will never play in the NFL next year, right?
Okay.
That's just there's people coming in, there's people going out, and they're fighting to stay in, right? Everybody, this is the highest level of football. I don't think people are unmotivated. It's just organizational. That's the word. What's it?
Organizational.
No, organizationally, um, you have to get things in a balance. Right now it's off balance. We have some reasons. We know some things that's outside of control, injuries and stuff like that. And I'm not mad to fire the head coach. If they think they have something, they should probably fire the GM as well. And start create a new administration in a sense, right? That,
Okay.
that's
So one of the things that you said that I kind of want to touch up on was players that are in the NFL. Like they're the most motivated that they're going to be. Well, the Giants drafted Abdul Carter last year, number 3 overall. And since coming in, he came in with a lot of hype, being
Right.
compared to Micah Parsons,
Yeah.
who was, in Dallas now, currently in Green Bay.
Right.
And like when he came with like, a lot of hope. And like he wanted a Phil Simms number 11 jersey that
Yeah.
he wore in college.
Right.
And then he also wanted number 56, um, who
Right.
is, like the New York Giants legend. Um,
LT.
Exactly. And like and he wanted like, his number. And like in the preseason, Lawrence Taylor told him, hey man, like be the best version of yourself that you can be. Don't try to be the next Lawrence Taylor, but be you. So he didn't give him his jersey. And fast forward to like what last week against the Patriots, and against like the Green Bay Packers. He ended up having to sit out in Green Bay for 6 plays because he missed a walkthrough.
Right.
At first, he was reported that he was sleeping, and then he went out and like defended himself, saying that no, I wasn't sleeping. I was like I was doing like I was stretching out, and like doing something with with the trainers and whatnot. And then a week goes by, and then the following week, he ended up like sitting out a whole half. Because he did the exact same thing all over again, which is kind of pointing back to accountability issues in the locker room. And with the fact that so much was riding on this rookie, mind you, a rookie missing like missing all of this time and having to sit down and get disciplined. Like the other players that are in the locker room are not getting on him. They're not like the leaders that are in the locker room are not getting on him. He's just doing whatever he so pleases. And this is something that was reported that under Brian Daboll was still going on, like, and it was not getting checked then. Now like new people are like in charge, and they decide that they're going to punish him. But like my biggest thing that I'm taking from this is that he only has 1.5 sacks this season.
Mm.
And he has a lot of pressures. Leads all rookies and pressures in the backfield, and is
Yeah.
running a lot of stunts with Brian Burns and whatnot. But still, like I only have 1.5 sacks and barely like doing a whole lot. And now you're sitting out, not on the field when your team needs you because of discipline issues. How do you feel about something like this happening to a rookie?
Yeah. Is it bad? It's not good, right? So, um, Abdul Carr, I think he's pretty good. I think he's a good player.
Mhm.
Again, I will go back to the idea that this is a classroom with substitute teacher that's teaching for the first time. She came from the corporate world. She came into the worst class in the middle school. So the kids are throwing stuff, and it's an unstable environment. I'm not excusing Abdul Carter, you know what I mean? But like he was the top defensive player in the draft, and I think Giants was right for picking him, and having Kayvon and Abdul. That's a pretty good recipe for future growth on defense.
Dexter, yeah, he came into a line where like they had Dexter Lawrence, they had Abdul Carter as the rookie, they had Brian Burns on the edge with Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side, and like Paulson Adebo manning like the corner spot. And their defense was like designed to get after the quarterback, just like they have built it in the past. And like him being compared to Micah Parsons and his versatility coming out of college and being able to, like get after the quarterback the way that he was able to do. Giants fans were salivating, thinking that we just got ourselves a Michael Parsons.
Right.
And like seeing that he like does not,
I think Abdul's story is not over yet. I don't
that's
think
true.
he's a rookie. He's probably 21. Okay, so like I don't think his story is over yet. And I think it's an unbalanced environment, and from what you even said, it sounds like it's a guy that's trying to figure it out. Like I was getting sacked, there's a lot of pressure, and I think Giants was right for drafting him. Because that is one of the calling cards of the New York Giants, right? It's all defensive line, the defensive line. like Tuck, you're in Europe, Strahan. If the defensive line is good, and you could win a lot of football games, because if the quarterback's uncomfortable, it push your same thing with offensive line. If you have a good offensive line, your offense is going to be pretty solid. You have a good defensive line. It starts with the lines. So I think Abdul was a good pick, but right now it's not excusing Abdul, but it's things are in chaos. All these things need to be evaluated. It sounds like it's somebody that is frustrated with, like the pressures of New York playing. I'm supposed to get all these sacks. I'm not playing that. I got to do with extra stress. I need a little more of this. He's trying to figure it out. It's his first year in the NFL. I can't be like, yeah, but there's a lot of chaos going on right now, and I think the team needs to. They need to shift to a coach that has more authority, and all of that. I think is part of rebuilding the culture. And I don't think Abdul is like a villain already. It's just somebody and listen. A lot of teams would like to have Abdul. You put the Abdul on the Dirty Birds. It's probably different things, right? I'm not blaming him that much. I just think the organization needs to do a full reset, and those things would be mitigated. And if it doesn't happen in a good environment, then you could be like, okay, well, we need to. I would still keep him for the 5 years because it's cheap,
So, okay. No, I agree with you. Like I think it's definitely too early to call him a draft bust. Um,
Yeah, which
mo-
and he's like you just told me he's like number one, and even that's good. That's good,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
he gets to the quarterback. He just it doesn't have like a lot of sacks to show for it. 1.5 sacks, and like the one sack that he got, it was just like the quarterback giving himself up in front of him, not him actually getting to the quarterback. And a lot of Brian Burns, who has 13 sacks this season, a lot of his sack numbers he ended up getting them because he's running inside stunts with Abdul Carter.
yeah,
So like I don't want to like harp on him too much. It's just that like seeing a rookie playing the way that he's playing it and getting disciplined, that has got to be alarming.
yes. He's
Yeah.
and like you mentioned earlier, he's an eclectic guy. What are you
Hmm.
doing asking LT for his number? That's the goat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's an eclectic guy, but I don't think like I don't think it's good to you're gonna have a successful team if you expect everybody to be exactly like you want them to be. You know what I'm saying? I believe like people are gonna be different, and you gotta figure a way out to manage personalities. I think the best organizations is they don't try to filter out all people with different personalities, with different. I don't. I embrace the confidence to say, what, I want to be the greatest defensive player of all time. I want this number. I don't think that's a bad thing. I see Giants fans are talking about it as if like, how dare he? You know what I'm saying? LeBron wear Jordan's jersey, okay? So I don't think. I think you should set high, pressure for yourself. You know what I'm saying, and try to meet them. I rather have him. I rather have that than somebody that's scared of the moment anytime. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's a negative thing. I think, like I said, it's a. I'm gonna use a different analogy this time. It's a sinking ship. So people are doing whatever they gotta do to survive. You feel me? So I can't blame Carter for that. So
Okay. So moving on to like today's matchup, Giants versus Commanders. Let's talk about it. So based on everything we've discussed, what are your expectations going into this game?
I expect them to lose. No, I expect them to lose because, like, why would I try to win? Like, I feel like the Giants, internal, like, listen, fumble, throw a little fumble, you get a little down. No, I'm not saying that. There's integrity in sport. I don't, but I think Washington is a more stable franchise right now, right?
I'd
So
agree with that. Yeah.
they have their head coach. They have injury, and that's I feel like that should have been the approach of the Giants. The difference is it's the same thing. They have injuries at the top positions on the team. The difference is they didn't fire their coach.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there's still stability. There's still, hey, listen, I could cut you. I could, you know what I'm saying? But now it's like, all right, bro, you're not gonna be here next year. What do I care what you gotta say? You know what I'm saying? Like
I
I think
mean, I was getting on them a little bit last week because like they ended up playing Jaden Daniels with a injured rotator cuff, and like him, like being like their franchise, the guy that they gotta protect, like they decided to like run him out there, and he injured the exact same arm, and now he's like he's out this week. I thought that the season was already over with them at 3-10, and the Giants at 2-11. I'm like, okay, there is literally no reason to be running him out anymore this season. Just pack it up, like focus on next year. Dan Quinn, being a defensive minded guy, he can just like just evaluate the team and just focus on that. But they decided to run him out again, and he ended up injuring himself. And now like you're putting your team in jeopardy because you're injuring your quarterback, who like you ended up getting when the Giants wanted him when he was coming out on his sophomore season. He's like he missed almost like the entire sophomore season because he was injured.
it's a dangerous sport, right? But like you don't get and you don't get any struggle. You don't get by not playing, right? And I'm sure that was Jaden Daniels' decision to play, right? He's been sitting out almost all season, right?
Hmm.
Because he got injuries, like so. He part of getting better, part of healing is to play to see where you at, right? He's probably been doing a lot of rehab on the shoulder. He wanted to see where he's at. He was confident. And I want, as a head coach, how do you stop that? I don't believe franchises was like, yeah, we're gonna sit this guy. I think they do it a lot in basketball, so he could heal up. No, the guy is injury prone. Like you gotta sit him down every day. Like then don't play. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, I appreciate the your point about the season's over. There was no need to play him. But for him, there's probably a huge need for him to play because in his mind, football is about confidence. Football is about like, yo, listen, do I belong here? I'm sure he wanted to test that out. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember when Tua wasn't playing. It's like, yo, listen, is this guy ever gonna play again? You know what I'm saying? Like because
Hmm.
injuries
Hmm.
they may look like they have a secure position, but in their mind, they may not be as secure as we think. Like, hey, listen, I gotta show that I could still do this. You know what I'm saying? This is still my team. Quarterbacks are competitive, right? Like, not that Mariota's gonna take his job in a sense, but are they gonna start looking elsewhere? All these things come in mind. But it's also important to play, right?
Hmm.
This like I remember when I played, like in training camp, my wrists always felt like they were gonna break off. Just this constant bang and this constant hitting and hitting. After a while, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's like my body grow calluses, right? And
Hmm.
and next year it happens again. You need to get used to the hitting, the constant pounding, right?
Hmm.
But it's for a lot of players that fact is still important for them to keep sharpening their irons, and I'm sure that's what Jaden wanted to see where he was at. He wanted to play so he has some momentum going into next year. Not playing, not having any momentum going to the off season. I'm sure it's not something that he wants to do. He's been rehabbing all season. You
Hmm.
know, what I mean? Like I don't think that's a bad thing for him to try to play. If he got hurt, he has all rest of off season to get back, or it could if it's a season ending injury, if it's a career ending injury, that could happen at any point. You know what I'm saying? So not playing, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay. So what are your predictions for Giants vs Commanders then?
I think. Let's see. I'd like for the Giants to lose because it's like I gotta go with my heart and my mind. I don't think the Commanders, like you never know with Marcus Mariota. Like he could run all over the field. He could throw a ball, got batted right back to him. He scores a touchdown. I literally see that happen. I'm like, so I think I'd like to see the Giants lose for all the right reasons.
Mhm.
Marcus Mariota does have something to play for. Um, what's it called? Washington is has their quarterback, so they're not gunning for the number one positions. My question to you is that what would you like to see? You know, you can ask me all the questions.
Well, the Giants already have their franchise quarterback, from my
Do you?
opinion,
Are you
and
sure? Are you
Jackson.
sure?
Yeah,
You sure?
Jackson Dart has been phenomenal this season, and I think this is like a viewpoint and thought process that has been like gaining traction all around the league. He plays up to standards, and when like he's been dealing with concussion protocol of like for the like 2 weeks. He came back last week against the Patriots, and like he underperformed, but that's because the Patriots are actually a really good defense this year, and and I think with the Giants hiring, like the right offensive or the right coach, and getting their defensive in order next year, and if they were to end up with the number one overall draft pick, that's something that I would like to see the New York Giants, do, because then they could either focus on like getting offensive linemen, getting a wide receiver, getting like somebody to add to their defense, but at the same time, they don't need to have the number one overall draft pick to do all of this. The only reason that I would want the number one overall draft pick is that I know that there's a plethora of other teams that are gunning for that, and they'd be willing to come up and trade, like the New York Jets that has 2 first round picks this year and 3 first round picks next year. So having the number one overall draft pick
Yeah,
with
it's current. It's current.
like some of the quarterbacks that are coming out of the college league, I know that the Jets are gonna want a quarterback, because like their situation isn't exactly to par with Fields not playing up to standards and getting benched, and like them starting Cooks. This Sunday, trying to see if they can get some traction or
Who's
something with
starting?
somebody. This rookie quarterback, Cooks, I believe.
Just a cooked. No, I was just kidding. Yeah, I think. I mean, you always want the number one pick because it's valued high. It's currency. You can trade it for other picks. But you sure? You sure Jackson Dart is your quarterback? And I think he
A
looks
hundred and 10%. a
okay.
hundred and ten percent. I promise you, like everybody around the league is saying the same thing. I've seen how he's played this year. I've seen how he's played last year, and compared to like the last year in college, I've seen how he played this year. Him making the jump from college to the NFL. This is definitely our guy, 100%.
Okay.
I think I genuinely think he should have been taken the number one overall, going to Tennessee, not or what's his name, who actually went to Tennessee, and he played decent, but like Tennessee is struggling right now. Jackson Dart, I genuinely believe, could have either been the number one overall draft pick or the number two overall draft pick. Like
You
because
thought that before the draft?
before the draft, I would say that I thought that Shador Sanders, his ceiling was definitely a lot higher. But I felt like Jackson Dart's floor was a lot higher.
So you
But
thought oh,
now
so you thought you was on Jackson Dart bandwagon before.
I was skeptical, because I watched some of his college films, and like seeing how he played. I remember he played against Alabama, the team that I root for in college, and like I wasn't overly impressed with him. I thought like coming out of college he played a little reckless, but he had heart, and that is the one thing you can say, like this entire year, this entire season, he has shown that he has played with heart. And coming with the draft crop of this year, seeing all of the guys that are coming out, Fernando Mendoza most definitely is gonna be coming out. The kid from Alabama is most likely gonna be coming out. I see all of them, and I'd still rank Jackson Dart above all of them.
Okay.
Hmm.
I like Jackson Dart. I think he's a good quarter, but I don't think his evaluation is done. You guys are fully in with Jackson Dart. Is that
Hmm.
what Giants fans fully
I,
in.
I think I can speak for I'd say like 85% of all Giants fan when I say like we're looking at Jackson Dart as though he is the franchise quarterback that we were hoping. He like Brian Daboll did an awesome job developing him. And believe me, it was not Jackson Dart. What he right now he has what 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions has and he's like I think like six or so like rushing touchdowns. He has played up to standards. He has played above what we expected. Believe me when I tell you this. He has played above what we've expected. The losses that the Giants have been having has been the defense, failing to, play up to standards. And, like, mind you, he's doing all of this, just like you stated earlier, without the number one wide receiver when Malik Neighbors going down against the Chargers, without Cam Scatterwood going down like in that Eagles game,
What are you
like
doing? He's losing.
was that
They're losing.
who
The Giants.
they're constantly losing, but it's not because of the offense.
Nah,
Like
it's funny you say
and
that.
you also gotta remember
He's doing,
that Jackson
he's doing
Dart
all
took.
this losing with with you know what I'm saying. I'm not blaming Jackson. I like Jackson. I think he's a good prospect, but I still think
Mhm.
he's still being evaluated because you got to be on the field. The best ability is availability. So
Right, but
if
he's
you
only missed what? He's only missed two games this season, and that is because like of concussion protocol, and he didn't start the first three because like they wanted to give Russell
he missed
Wilson
two
a
games,
go at it. Yeah,
I thought he
so
missed one.
no,
What?
he's only missed 2 games due to concussion protocol. Against Green Bay and against the Lions, he missed those 2 weeks and then came back against the Patriots. And then beginning of the season, he didn't come in until like week 4
Right.
against the Chargers. And the reason is that Brian Daboll was giving Russell Wilson a go at the helm, and Russell Wilson played relatively well against the Cowboys and the earlier going, him throwing for over 300 yards and a couple of like touchdowns to Malik Neighbors. Like they wanted to give him a go.
I hear you. I'm just asking, just to make sure. I think he's still. I would still be evaluating him, because the concussions. There's some. I think he looks the part. That's why I'm confident. That's why I would say like yeah, definitely get the number one pick this season and get a bunch of draft picks and so the incoming coach could have a lot of could pick his groceries. Is the
Mhm.
is the incoming coach gonna be the like is he gonna get he's obviously he's got to build the team around Jackson, and yeah I think that's good, but I think the the whole approach is to get this thing settled to see what Jackson does well, to what I'm saying, but I don't even think you need to play him for the rest of the season,
Mhm.
based on that itself. If you haven't picked a coach, if you feel if he's played what's he played like 8 games, I think
Just about give or take, yeah.
that's a good simple size to
I completely disagree. I think your rookie season is your most important season for evaluation. I think, like, he should have gotten the opportunity to compete with Russell Wilson in the beginning and the off season. Like, and
what do you
then
mean he didn't get the chance? He was in practice. That's good.
no, no, no. They had already said that Russell Wilson was going to get like the head nod, the starting nod. So he was getting third team reps in the off season. So he didn't get an opportunity until like week 4, where Brian Daboll, after losing consecutive weeks after week after week, then he was like, okay, we gotta change it up. We gotta do something different. And this is about like self-preservation, which is why like Brian Daboll brought him in and was like, hey, this is the guy that I chose. This is my guy. Like if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down with him. Not with Russell Wilson,
So
who
you said,
looked inept.
did you thought he should have started the
Week
season
one.
before you saw what he was capable of? Or you not?
Before no, because like I liked how the Giants were handling the situation with
Yeah,
having
that's
like
the rational way. I think that's the right approach. I don't think that was bad at all. Like
right.
I
But
think
I felt like after week 1 and seeing how Russell Wilson played, they should have. I think that they absolutely
after
could
week
have.
one,
Was that?
After
Yeah,
week one?
after week one,
Wow.
100%. I felt like after week one, they should have like pulled back and be like,
No,
all
but
right, we've seen
listen,
enough. We're
it's
not
easy to
doing
say
this.
that now. It's so easy to say that now. After week one, yeah, after week one, I had it perfect. I told him that I got Russell, get him out of here. Put Davis in, and then, nah, come on, man. No, I think they handled it right. This was a rookie quarterback, right? Like,
Hmm.
like, like he came in week four. That's good. You know what I'm saying? This skipped over Jameis for him, and that's good. And you have to see those things in practice, right? Like
Hmm.
week one, that means the offseason, and every week he hasn't played an NFL game. They got, I'm sure he came in late when they lose and stuff like that. But you gotta see, you gotta see. He didn't blow the roof off in the preseason, did he? You know?
He didn't really get to to play too much because the Giants went into like the preseason with four quarterbacks, and that they needed to evaluate. They had Russell Wilson, they had Jameis Winston, they had Jackson Dart, and then they had Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
That's I still like that's this that whole quarterback room is funny to me.
Mhm. And
It's
even now, I still
not.
felt like the way that it should have gone is they should have had Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson competing for for who's gonna be the QB1, and if Jackson Dart lose, then they should have have it where they traded Jameis Winston and kept Tommy DeVito in the draft in their lineup. I felt like the end it should have been Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito, and Russell Wilson should have never been on this roster at all. But it's neither here nor there. And
What, you thought that then, or you think that now?
I think that now, looking back on it, I
Yeah,
think
I
that
mean,
now. But
hindsight always 2020. If I knew the numbers in the lotto last week, bro, I would have never played all these. Come on, man, what is that? Like Russell Wilson is like he's a Super Bowl winner. He's a good quarterback. He was a Pro Bowler last year, right? So you can't just like it may not be his right system. It may not be, you know what I'm saying. So like I think that they handled it the right way. They started the veteran. I'm sure that was part of contract to say, listen, you're gonna come in, you're gonna start, but this is our future. Obviously, that's exactly what transpired. To say, well, this should never been on the team. Like Jackson Dart still never played at the level Russell Wilson has played in. Neither does James. So he's still the most successful football player in that Giants locker room. So
mhm.
there is something to gain from it. I don't think Russell Wilson is a bad guy. I don't think it's bad for Jackson Dart, right?
No,
It's just
not at all. Yeah,
I
he
just
has been nothing but supportive, 100%.
yeah, I just think it just didn't work out for them and the vision and didn't come together. A lot of injuries, a lot of stuff happened, but I don't, like it's always easy to be like, yeah, Jackson Dart is the best. No, I didn't know. I didn't think so. I've seen him play in Ole Miss, right? He
Hmm.
had an NFL type of head coach. He was in a pro type offense, and I didn't see what I'm seeing now, and I'm definitely seeing progress. I'm not sold yet, just based on the concussion situation and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like and he's gonna have a new coach, and can he adjust? But I think Giants are going the right route. There's just a lot of things went wrong. The ship is sinking, but there's still good furniture and good pieces on board. It's just we just need to get the ship, steady and floating upright.
Right, but the ship is sinking because the foundation is rotten to its core. Looking at the state of the Giants, do you how do you feel about Joe Shane as a general manager, and do you feel like he should have been fired along with Brian Daboll, or is what John Mara is choosing to do as the owner of the New York Giants, bringing back Joe Shane, possibly bringing back Joe Shane. He's probably gonna still get evaluated based on how they finished, but Brian Daboll got fired, and he and Brian Daboll came together, to the New York Giants 4 years ago, and now Brian Daboll got fired. And he is still, he's still there, managing as the general manager. When a lot of what happened with the New York Giants could be blamed on him. The roster was trash last year. The roster is, it may have been much better roster now, but the offense and defensive coordinator, still like not performing up to standards. And like the Giants have lost so many games that were so close that they easily could have won with a better defensive coordinator, with a better offensive coach, and with just like the guys doing what they're supposed to. So many fourth quarter blown leads.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not gonna say I like Joe Shane, but I don't think Joe Shane is the problem. I don't think we should get rid of the guy that got you Jackson Dart, that got you even Abdul Carter, that got you.
Whoa, whoa. Joe Shane did not get Jackson Dart. Joe
What do
Shane
you?
was pounding the table for Shador Sanders. He wanted to draft Shador Sanders, which now we're looking at and we're like, okay, Shador has been like, like the last 2 weeks that he's gotten an
Is
opportunity to
that
play,
bad?
he's playing really good.
Yeah,
He's
so
playing
so
good.
what I'm saying is like I don't think Joe Shane is a bad talent evaluator. Like I
Uh-huh.
think what's going on right now, you can't injuries, you can't blame on him, right?
Hmm.
You can't say, oh, this is like Joe Shane is not like this. No, I think they will go. Giants are still ahead in the right position. Like football is. A football team is something that you constantly molding, right? You constantly
Hmm.
building, you constantly. I don't think he's a bad talent evaluator. If he thought Shador was a good quarterback, I thought Shador was a good quarterback, right?
Hmm.
And then the head coach gets to pick, but that's not a knock on him that he thought a good quarterback was a good quarterback, a pretty good quarterback.
Hmm.
Shador is the highest passing efficiency in college football history.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
very, very true.
so
Yeah.
duh. I don't think he's the problem. I don't think he's the issue, and I don't think he was the problem with Daboll. Something went wrong with Daboll, and Daboll got fired. But Daboll was a Belichick um,
Protege.
protege, and I don't think they were going to the right direction. I just think yeah, there's definitely something happened and they wanted something changed, something new. Giants timeline was probably earlier for success. It was
I
then
mean, they had 4 years to, have success. They were wildly successful in the first year, which a lot of Giants fans say like that's probably what doomed them because the next 3 years, like they underperformed and under delivered because of the first year. They ended up giving what's his name a contract, the quarterback now in Indiana, Daniel Jones. They ended up giving him a contract. They let Saquon Barkley walk away. They let Julian Love walk away. They let Xavier McKinney walk away. Like they
the
did
the
bring.
single move he might need to get fired. I totally forgot. The Saquon move, watching Saquon run in the Super Bowl or had his best year in Philadelphia definitely hurt my heart. I've seen Saquon play live in Giant Stadium, and that's
Mhm.
that's something special to watch. And I would die. Yeah, no, like fire
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
guy.
I think
No,
we can agree on
but
that one.
no, yeah.
So, the final question that I have for you is, should Joe Shane be back as like as the general
Yeah.
manager, and he has the opportunity to hire an offensive coordinator, a coach. Like we've been hearing names like Mike McCarthy, who was previously with Dallas, and then before that with Green Bay. Sean, what's his name? Chris Shula, who is under the McVay tree. Clint Kubiak, who runs a modern offense with the Seattle. Um, you know, of these guys, like who have you heard the most about, and like what do you think the Giants should do in terms of direction?
I mean, I think Joshin should be fired just off Saquon. Just that's personal to me. Like Saquon was my guy. And, what I'm saying. I think the last Giants game I went to, Saquon played. So to get rid of talent like that, and I understand they're like, oh, we're trying to cut money, and like sometimes you outsmart yourself, and that's kids, right? This is the thing,
I
kids.
agree.
Keep it simple, stupid. That's a football term, right? Like sometimes you overthink shit and you end up doing too much. But I think it's good practice to have a general manager and a coach come in together, right? So we coming together, we kind of teaming up on this. I got the the talent and research side, you got the coaching side. What do you want? What do you need? I think it's important to do that, and I think Giants are in a good position to do that right now. Like Joe Shane, had his 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
four, I'm assuming, right? Had his
Yep.
4 years. Giants is where they're at, and if you're gonna rebuild the culture, I'm sure Joe Shane probably get another job. I think the Saquon thing was a contract thing more, and people, but start clean house, get rid of this administration. No leftover stuff.
And is there like a head coach that you yourself like have heard
Oh,
about?
I think Mike McCarthy has a lot of authority because he's won a Super Bowl before,
Of course, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Coming to a team with a Super Bowl, there's not too many Super Bowl winning coaches on the market, right? And I think you should marry that with a high level offensive coordinator. I don't know because he was an offensive coordinator, Mike McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? And I think he'd be good for Jackson Dart as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jackson Dart, I feel like that whole team is immature, and Mike McCarthy is a mature guy. Abdul Carter is taking shits too long in the bathroom, not coming, not coming on the field on time, getting suspended. Jackson Dart is running through walls when he could just step out of bounds. So all these things are a mature thing, and these guys are young. It's a young team, and I think
Mhm.
having a young offensive coordinator coming in with good ideas, but I think um, culture of an organization is very important. And you need somebody strong to going from a loose culture to a strong culture. So I like Mike McCarthy.
Thank you very much for like your insights. Um, the Giants aren't just losing games; they're losing direction. Later today, the Giants are going to play against Washington. Drop your prediction down below. If you think that the Giants should be tanking, or like if you believe that they should like be focusing on the game with possibility of trying to win. I want to thank you, Charlie, for coming on and like giving us some outsider's perspective. And I think you did awesome.
Thank you,
um,
dude. Thank you, bro. And you got it, man. Like I think last thing I would say before we scrap this is that like yes, the Giants should definitely tank, but there's no good quarterback in this draft, right? The guy that won the Heisman, I think he threw for 2,000 yards. So like, it's a good draft, but I think we should, like,
Fernando Mendoza, yeah.
those, yeah. I think this college football. There's no stars in college football this year.
Hmm.
There's not nobody that stands out. So like I would say the Giants is going the right route. It's just try to still get the number one pick because I'd like to get that safety from Ohio State. I heard he's doing his thing, and if you can get players like that on your defense, we'll get off the field a little quicker. So
No, I agree with you. Um, and finally, before we sign off, what are your predictions for the game, New York Giants versus Washington Commanders? What are the scores that you are, thinking that the Giants are going to end up with, and how many yards do you think Jackson Dart is going to throw for?
21-28.
21-28.
Shit, I think Giants might win this, though. That's the thing. I don't want them to 21-28, but Mariota struggles throwing the ball. Giants are immature, but immature teams, they might have had a good night last night, and they come
Hmm.
out, like fresh legs and stuff like that. I think 21-28 Giants win it. I'd like it to be the other way around, but like Mariota struggled to throw touchdowns. So although he runs them, but I don't know if he could run against that Giants team. They're pretty quick on the ground.
All right, and that'll do it for for the show. Thanks for tuning in to the GMen Command Post.